going on, guys? It's me, Train Man, and welcome back to 8 times speed, this whole mess. So, today's goals were, in this order. Step 1 was make this section of the line, or make the line drivable. Step 2 was finish the basic terrain. And 3, which was unrelated to 1 and 2, which was add the buildings to the beach town. And no, I didn't plan those in advance whatsoever. I'm just kind of naming the things that we got done and pretending like I totally planned it. So here we go. We're doing the same old thing, copy and pasting our slope here and flattening everything out. And this is going to be one of the biggest things we do. We did not finish the river work, and that's probably going to be one of the trickier things, and it's proven to be. Because when the river is continually declining, and we don't actually have a way to make things continually decline, or at least water, without using a spline, and the splines all suck, we kind of are stuck with we're kind of stuck with just making waterfalls every once in a while. And I've been trying to line those up with where the tracks go over the river, because, I mean, it sort of makes sense that that's the narrowest point, and I don't know, whatever. Anyways, I've been trying to line them up with there because I don't really have a explanation for it necessarily from the standpoint of the map, but I do have it from the standpoint of being able to build the damn thing, and that is, if I line it up with the track, I have a baseline for, okay, this is going to be the level of the river. From here up until a point where the gorge gets too deep, and I decide, okay, well, let's add a waterfall and come up to the next area. Again, I'm still sort of working it out, so we don't have a huge idea of exactly what we're doing here, but at this point we'd had almost all of the trackage drivable, and now we do. Now we have Providence connected to Worcester, which connects to Waterville and Blindside Bluff, and that is really all we needed to do in order to run this on the run session, which is next episode. Can you believe it? Wait a minute, is it? Let me check. Is it next episode, or is it in 2? I don't want to get you guys too excited. I don't want to get myself too excited. Hold on. Alright, so this, last week we posted episode number 121, so this is 122. Next week is 123. Go ahead and post your ideas for a run session. I mean, I have ideas, but I think I know what I'm going to do, but if you can add to that in any way, it's great. Let's do it. Because right now, the route you see at the end of this video is the route we're going to be running on, more likely than not. And, yeah, that's kind of it. I hope you guys enjoy it. But right now, we end up using terrain tracks in a way that I haven't in a while, which is actually to build triangular sections. Although, that's not this. That's not this. We do that after we do that after the halfway point, after the intermission, which doesn't exist. So, yeah, we're just building the slope here because, frankly, I didn't trust myself to do it the copy-paste way, and it really wasn't an area large enough for me to bother. So, I just did it the normal way, and we come back across it in a minute with the spline, or the raise to height tool. By the way, what I just did there was different, and the reason it's different is because I wasn't actually using the elevation tool to choose where the track would be. Or to raise the track, to turn it into advanced mode. The reason I didn't is because I figured out, well, when you're skipping along with the raise tool to make the spline points all turn yellow and go into advanced mode, you can accidentally raise and lower some bits of track, and you don't want to do that. So, what you do is, if you're making a bunch of them that are all going to be the same height, you just choose the height of one of them, and then make it the height of all of them, and you spread it out. Grab spline, grab vertex height, and then use vertex height, and then you fill in all the other vertices, and voila, you got vertice lineup, they're all the same. And there's no fear of accidental adjustment there. Of course, when you're not doing very many, or they're all at different levels, then that's different. Alright, so I needed houses. So I went to Jader's place over here, and I grabbed some houses. And then I just start placing houses, and that's the next quarter of this video, and that's a shoddy little house, but I try to face all the porches and stairways, or at least the porches, towards the road, and I go down and I place just about one of each. And then eventually I go looking for different ones, and that has a very modern truck, so I go and hide it in the back. That one has a non-modern truck. They've also, a lot of them have these water tanks, which I guess would be appropriate when you have like the aquifer here, and you're pumping the stuff into the tanks, and when you need it, you'll be using it, and when you don't, I mean, you don't want to be out of it, you know. You don't want to run out of water at any point, so you pipe it into the things there. I wonder where the water table would be on this, actually, because it's probably further down towards where the salt water is. But it might be a little higher than that, considering there's the lake right over there. Yeah, if the water table is any lower, it would be below the lake, so I guess it's at the level of the lake. And there's probably an impermeable sort of clay layer, which is on the beach, which gets exposed when the sand washes away. And I start getting picky here, turning houses around. I'm still going down one by one, and I'm placing houses down every once in a while, and I'm adjusting stuff, and there I go with the telephone poles, which stretch to the end of the street, and if something's in the way, I make them switch sides on the street, which really isn't a problem. And I go ahead and I do that on the railroad as well, which you're about to see. Although I look for a goods shed first. We have a nice little mansion there. We're going to put a bunch of them down. I don't want a goods shed with a thing, and that one was like bananas or something. And I'm just scrolling through buildings. I found this one, and it's like, okay, this is good. So I end up using that one. Alright, so we get... I didn't even know what that was. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do here. I was looking for sort of older cottage-looking things, and I didn't find anything that really popped out to me, so I decided, okay, well, let's just do the texturing here underneath the roads, and then we can do more of the interesting stuff later. I was going to put a coal station there and then realize, you know, we're not really that close to anything. And I sort of just left it alone. Moved that nice house down there, and then eventually I decide, okay, that's right, we need telegraph lines. Let's go do that. Come on, do it. Alright, so there I go. And they're parallel in the track because the track was more likely than not here before the lines were. Except, right there, of course, the lines don't want to follow the switchback, so they cut across the area. They dip down in the gully there. They switch sides quite often when there's a tree in the way. And then they just sort of follow the rail line through the woods. And, you know, when there's something in the way, that they avoid it. And I was trying to keep it one continuous spline, more or less. But going around these corners meant that, you know, I was placing spline points quite often. Had to be careful coming over the river there. Didn't want to put one in the river. Dodging back and forth across the tracks. Now we're in the mud, and then we come out to here, and that's about as far as I go. And then I go, okay, well, let's come over here and work on this. And this is much later. If you notice, I don't have tracks down here anymore because I didn't know how I was going to do the terrain. And I still, I mean, I sort of do now. The way down is still too, what's the word? It's too sloped. If you take a straight line. So I'm kind of stuck. I have to figure out a way to get the tracks down here without making them too slopey or making a mess of the terraining that I've been doing here. So basically this is just a bowl. And part of me while I was doing this went, okay, this is a bowl. All the water while it rains would just flow down at this house, and then I realized, oh wait, no, it must flow into the pit of death. And then, you know, part of me goes, oh, that's brilliant, of course it flows into the pit of death. Where else would it go? And so it's a flooded cave system, I would guess. And that probably flows out to the ocean or into the water table or something. Also, we're going to have some sort of ridge between the hole down and this river, obviously showing that, okay, so the river wouldn't flow into the pit of death. There's a sort of divide in basins there. And again, this is the kind of terraining I haven't done in a very long while, and this is, you know, it's sort of giving me nostalgia, and it's also giving me frustration, because obviously using terrain tracks like this is a very finicky sort of thing, and I would have much rather done 90-degree planes, but this didn't facilitate it. It kind of didn't make sense to. And I would have needed corners at some point anyways, so that's what we're stuck with. We are stuck with building triangle slopes around here. Which, you know, last time I did that was when I was working on TARDIS Pass on the TV and ARR. So, it's been a little while. Okay, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. I did that while I was working on one of the areas on this map a little while ago. So, I don't know. It's still been a considerable amount of time. Okay, so right here I'm trying to find the angle that'll let me do this without it looking really bad. And I'm not entirely sure there is a magic angle for that. Especially when you're working on an angle like this. You know, with this sort of sloped triangle in 3 dimensions. I don't know, it's awkward. Although I'm sure there's some way, there's gotta be some vector that's it. You gotta find the vector that's parallel to the plane of the triangle. And that's not particularly easy because the triangle might not actually be on one plane, depending on how you built the darn thing in the first place. I'm sure if I planned far enough ahead, I would be able to do it pretty easily, but I don't quite know. I haven't worked out all the nuances with terrain tracks yet, and that means I'm stuck doing things like this and sort of feeling around and cutting things in half and going, okay, well this looks okay, this looks decent. You know, I don't know. I'm sort of working on it. And again, this is going to be covered with stuff that isn't flat and planed, so it doesn't matter as much as it could. It could be, you know, this isn't a very prominent... Although on a mountain feature we've seen the striations look sort of better. I mean, obviously they don't look good in a plains area, which is why when I'm working over here it's like, oh, you know, I should probably get rid of these things, but they're probably going to be overwritten by whatever we're building on top of them. Hopefully, and hopefully meaning, hopefully when we do this it doesn't just make them worse. It doesn't make them more prominent and more noticeable. Because that would be the opposite of the intended effect, or the opposite of the hoped effect at least, and would probably necessitate a lot more tweaking in terms of making sure that things don't look god-awful. That's a scientific term, by the way. And so we're done with that. We finally get to put water under the bridge, literally. And so here we can get away with a texture. One of the areas up ahead we use the waterfall basic sample, which isn't great, but it's something. There we are. And so I end up bringing this thing down until the point where I have a giant spill there, and then it goes, okay, well, that's the farthest I can bring this thing down, and I stop it there because I'm going, okay, well now I'm not sure what to do, because we're pretty close to the track. And I make this hill here. You know, one little terrain feature at a time. As I've said, it's the sort of thing... Okay, I'm checking gradient there. It's the sort of thing where you go... Excuse me. It's the sort of thing where you go... This would sort of look good next to this, and then that's sort of it. And that's what you can do, and that's what you know how to do, so you do it. So you do that. Alright, so this is a long trestle. Right there. Adjust it a little bit. Put some water in. Put the water underground so you know where your base level is. and then dig down to that base level. Of course, I'm dodging the original path of the river a little bit, and the reason for that is, it would be a little bit. I'm trying to find like a rapids texture, but I'm not finding one I like, so that looks no good. So I'm like, okay, well, last resort, waterfall basic. It's loud as hell, but oh well. No, also we have to do that. That's a disadvantage to it as well. Anyways, so I'm sort of left with I'm not really sure what to do here, and I start building more of the river and then go, well, I think I'm lost, and I've hit time for today. So that went pretty quickly. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and remember, I have ideas for what I want to do next episode, but next episode is a run session, and your suggestions are appreciated. So we're going to stick one more waterfall in here, and that's going to be it for me. We've got an annoying corner. Yeah, there we are. And we have put in a temporary texture on the sides. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. Trayman out.